I haven't done any kind of YouTube content about AI products recently. Why is that? Well, I was on a vacation, swimming in Mediterranean. That's not exactly a good environment for reviewing AI tools, right? And making YouTube content. But that doesn't mean I was not checking out any kind of AI products. I was still playing with WebSim. I was also checking some other products like create.xyz, which is pretty interesting product, but I'm not planning to do any review on it. Do check it out, and if it looks interesting, leave a comment and I will maybe reconsider it. Now, there is also some new tools on the market like claude-dev. I do plan to try it out, see if it's good, and if it's good, maybe I will do a review video and comparison with other tools. Anyways, I'm back. I'm back to do YouTube content about tools. And before we dive into today's topic, I want to tie some loose ends from previous videos. In one of my previous videos, I compared Claude 3.5 artifacts with ChatGPT. In it, I predicted that I will cancel my Claude subscription because overall package of ChatGPT is better. It has search, it has image generation, it has way much more utility than Claude currently. I may reconsider if they introduce something like custom GPTs. We will see. Now, Claude artifacts are good, but with WebSim and everything that is in ChatGPT, well, ChatGPT is just a better choice. And that is what happened. I canceled my subscription. By the time you're watching this video, it probably runs out. Maybe not, but almost. And the reason I decided to cancel it is that I reviewed and I only used it a dozen of times over last month. And all of those cases were mostly related to how it writes text. In a sense that Claude is a bit better than ChatGPT at poetic text, at good quality text, good quality text. Now, not sure that this is the case today. Recently, I had a case where ChatGPT wrote better music lyrics than Claude did. So ChatGPT is still competitive. All in all, I only used it a dozen of times over a month, while I'm using ChatGPT a dozen times a day. So I canceled it. And now when this is out of the picture, I can speak about my previous video where I compared WebSim to Claude artifacts and concluded that for me, WebSim is a better tool than Claude artifacts for making app prototypes. For many reasons, watch the video to learn why. But basically, my combo currently is ChatGPT and WebSim for web app application prototyping. And I was using it a lot. We were making some games with my kids, and I was prototyping some old ideas, and I was continuing to work on one big project and seeing where the limits of WebSim are. Project is, I did show it in my previous video, it's a text adventure application that uses AI for generating text. It also generates AI images for the text, and it also does voice narration. It's a pretty big app. By now, it's something like 1,300 lines of code, which is 3 times the size of normal WebSim. And by the time you get to this size, WebSim becomes unusable. You basically hit limitations of what's possible in WebSim. And that is the topic of today's video. What are the limitations of WebSim and how to overcome them? So, what are the limitations? Well, the first thing that comes to mind, and the problem I have, is that when you're building a large application, you need to explore alternative paths of what to do. And WebSim is not a chat application. You need to write what you want, and it updates the app. You cannot explore with it possible reasons for a bug. You cannot explore with it possible solutions or libraries you want to add. You cannot brainstorm with it. You cannot ask questions about code. You kind of can, but it's tricky. I will show you later. But still weird. It's still UX is not for this. UX is not for brainstorming your application. That's where Claude and ChatGPT are better currently. Then there is search. For my video comparing Claude and ChatGPT, I said that very big reason for me is search. Now, when it comes to WebSim, why search matters? Well, because you're limited by a knowledge cutout of the model. Model learned on some kind of dataset, and it only knows about libraries that are by now maybe old. They're updated their interface, they fixed bugs, they maybe changed some things. It doesn't know new information. Well, ChatGPT can search the internet. It can find you bugs, solutions, new documentation, new libraries, read articles for you, and help you brainstorm decisions based on this new information that is newer than what was available to the model when it was learning. And we will try to take a look at that as well. No debugging. So to be fair, almost all tools on the market do not help with debugging. Claude currently does show you errors. WebSim doesn't show you that errors happened. Both Claude and WebSim don't know that error happened. Well, I mean, Chat doesn't know. Claude shows you the error, but Chat itself is not aware of the error. What you need to do is you need to debug yourself, copy paste information you found about what's happening to the chat. It's not automatic. It doesn't feel like assistant. Yeah. But to be fair, almost no one on the market does that. ChatGPT Code Interpreter, while not really comparable to artifacts, actually does that. It writes code, it runs it, encounters errors. Errors are automatically put into the chat, and it automatically continues to iterate and fix things. That's pretty cool, but only for Code Interpreter. I'm not aware of any tools like WebSim or Cloud Artifacts that does that, like interactive UI applications. So anyways, this is one thing that you will hit with WebSim, that sometimes it just doesn't work and you don't know why. And you cannot chat with it about it or explore or debug. You will need to be a developer and investigate yourself. Then there is size of code bases you can generate or work with. If you watch my video about Claude artifacts, you know that it generates each time from start to finish. It doesn't like fix a couple of lines. It always rewrites whole thing. And it's limited to one generation. It cannot generate files larger than something like 400 lines of code. That's Claude. WebSim can continue. So if it generates 400 lines of code for you, it's the limit, and then it like shows you a button, and we will take a look at it. It shows you a button, continue, and it can try to finish again. If your application is bigger, you will need to wait, push and continue once more, and now you have what, 1,200 lines of code? Now that's where WebSim is kind of better than Claude, but when you hit this kind of sizes of application, this becomes unusable. Because as the size of the code base grows, this kind of rewriting results in risks. As it rewrites, there is risk that it will change things you didn't ask it to change. And the bigger the thing, the more chances it has to do that. And the second risk is that the bigger the application is, the bigger is the risk that it's not going to do what you asked for. The bigger the application, the bigger the chance that this is going to happen. So it becomes almost unusable by the time you need to hit continue the second time. And it doesn't make sense. Then there is also cost. Currently, WebSim is free, but I will use this part when I am comparing with some things that you can do after you start to hit limits with WebSim. Yeah, I did hit a lot of those issues with Adventure Game. And that's the example, the demo that I want to show you. What happens when you try to modify application that is as big as this Adventure Game? Let's take a look at the game and try to make some changes and see what happens. Let's go. Here is WebSim, and here is the adventure game. Let's first take a look at what it does. When you go to this URL, I will share it in the description if you want to see yourself. You start this application, and you have a bunch of buttons and chat at the bottom. And there is also voice selector. Now, something is wrong with it, and it should be saving the voice. But let's take a look. I want English male Google Voice. That's the one I like. Oh, wait a sec, you're not seeing it. Here. There are some ideas for what kind of adventure you want to have. There is shuffle button, so you can get more ideas. Let's take a look at some of them. Steampunk, where reflections are portals. Okay, Viking Age, where reflections are portals. Kaiju battles, where the time flows backwards. Like Summary era with programmable matter. Noir in society based on dream sharing. Oh, that sounds interesting. Let's try that one. When you select one, a chat is started, and now AI is generating a story. We need to wait a little bit.
You find yourself in a dimly lit alleyway, rain pitter-pattering on the cracked pavement. The neon signs of nearby dream parlors flicker, casting an eerie glow on the puddles at your feet. You're Sam Vale, a down-on-his-luck private eye in a world where shared dreams are the new currency of information and power. Your latest case has led you here, to the seedy underbelly of Dream City. You're looking for Sarah Slumber, a missing dream architect who's rumored to have uncovered a conspiracy that could shake the very foundations of this dream-addicted society. What's your next move, Sam?
Okay, that's how it approximately works, in a sense that you select an option, it sends it to AI, you get text back. It also has image suggestions, so it generates an image, and it also gives you follow-up actions. And it also narrates using the voice you selected. We can enter nearest dream parlor, check your pocket for mysterious data chip, look for hidden surveillance cameras, try to recall your last shared dream for clues. I will not use the options it gave me. Instead, I will use an option of my own. I don't know, call my partner. to check what he is doing. So it's now again waiting for AI response. That's probably the only problem I have a little bit with AI adventure games, that it's a bit slow.
You fish out your phone from your coat pocket, the raindrops splattering on the screen as you dial your partner's number. After a few rings, a gruff voice answers. Yeah, Vale, what's the story? It's Jack Slumber, your partner and Sarah's brother.
So anyways, I will pause here. You can already see that there's a bug. It was showing...
You find yourself in a dimly lit alleyway,
It was highlighting what it is saying right now with first message. It's not highlighting for second. There are some other problems here. Like, I don't like this pre-generated random setups for the story. There is also share and ability to share the story. That doesn't exactly work completely. You would need to log in, then it will copy the code, and you can refresh. So here we are in the empty one, and now we can do paste, and it failed to load. So we have a lot of bugs to fix, right? What do? We have like 3 bugs to fix. Application is big. Let's try to modify it, see what happens. Let's actually start with what I said about it not being able to answer your questions, and that there is a hacky way to do that. Let's ask it, add a section that explains how regenerated story shuffle options work and are generated. Do not change anything else. So what I'm asking it now is to comment on how the code works. That's the only way in WebSim you can learn it through UI. So you can kind of chat with the application, but you will need to force it to add elements to the game that has nothing to do with the game. In theory, there are plugins, and I will show you a little bit later one of them, that maybe could add this functionality to WebSim to allow to chat about the WebSim and how it works and why some problems could be happening and what are the options to solve them. In theory, maybe you can even add a plugin that also allows to catch, show, render errors and send them to generation, so it tries to fix the errors. Currently, out of the box, WebSim doesn't do that. Now, what we can see is that it's generating code, and it's only the first generation. We didn't yet hit continue buttons, and it's taking some time. Could be that WebSim added an option to generate non-stop. Sure. Maybe I missed an update. But you can already see one of the problems. By the time it needs to generate so much, it takes time and it's not as fun as doing small applications. While with some other tools that I will be showing you, generation, even for such large applications, generation is very fast because it doesn't rewrite completely. And then it's again fast and fun. Okay, so it did something. Oh boy. That's interesting. It did work. I wonder if it works. Let's do spy thriller. And it doesn't work. You see continue, we need to continue. Oh, there is error. So we need to continue. It didn't finish. We need to push a button to continue. And now it will ask AI to do this again from the point where it stopped. And it's again generating code. We clicked second time. We are waiting again. While we are waiting, we can read here. So how pre-generated story options work. The pre-generated story options you see above are dynamically created using combination of genres and modifiers. Here how it works. There's a general list. We have a predefined list of various genres ranging from classic themes like medieval fantasy and cyberpunk to more exotic ones like sky pirates and dimensional rifts. There is a modifier list. We also have a list of unique modifiers that add an extra layer of intrigue to each genre, such as with dragon as allies. Boy. And here is what I mentioned before. There is a chance the thing is gonna break. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but it's broken now. And as your application gets bigger and bigger, you will encounter this problem more often. So basically, we tried to do a small modification and it failed. We didn't even ask it to do anything complex. We asked it to add this component, and it fails. For large applications, WebSim doesn't work. The moment you start to need to hit continues, you will have some trouble. So what do? Let's return to presentation a bit. So yeah, that was a demo. So you can kind of chat, but you will need to ask it to add panels to the application. Maybe with plugins it could be done better. Yes, search is not there. Debugging is tricky. As size gets bigger, you're starting to get big problems. So what do? what did we do with my collaborator? Well, and how do you overcome the limitations? You will need to access the code. There are two ways to do it. One is that you can download it, and second is that you can add plugins, and there are plugins that allow you to view and edit the code. So we can try to do that by adding this code to the end of your URL. But before we do that, we will take a look at downloading first, where you need to just click the button and download the code, and then you can open it locally and edit. First, let's go to the WebSim state that worked, which is this one. And you can go here and you can download your code. Then you can read it as a file. Or you can add this plugin thingy. Let's do that. You go and add to the end of your WebSim URL this plugin parameter. I will have it in my description if you want to try it. Then you navigate to the page again. And what happens is you will see this hamburger menu at the top. When you click it, it will open code editor and you will see the whole code of the application. You can see that here we have something 1,367 lines of code. And you can read the code, edit the code, copy paste the code, and go and copy the code, go to something like ChatGPT, paste it and say, and ask it, summarize what this app does. It could fail because it's too big. No, it actually worked. So this app is an interactive text adventure game platform that allows users to engage in various story settings. The app presents a selection of different genres. Key features is text-to-speech, save and share, interactive choices, dynamic story creation. Does it create images? Let's see what app was it. It knows. No app itself does not create or generate images. Instead, it seems to fetch and display pre-existing images that are related to the scenes in the adventure. These images are described or referenced within the story response. So you see, you can kind of chat with applications and learn how they work when you have code. Now, considering that you have open editor, you can make changes. Like, let's find and make change by hand. Let's do a smaller change, something we would immediately see. So welcome to text adventure game. Choose your setting. Okay, choose your setting. Okay, welcome to text adventure game with images and narration. Choose your voice in bottom right. Choose your setting by pressing green button below. Buttons below. So we made a small change. Now we can click save and it will show such kind of dialog. You need to click OK. Now you're in a new WebSim and you can see the changes worked. Welcome to text adventure game with images and narration. Choose your voice in bottom right. Choose your setting by pressing green buttons below. So we updated our WebSim while not asking WebSim itself to make the change. So this is a way you can use to fix or investigate issues, but it's like you're basically back to being a developer or needing to be a developer, which is not probably what you expect. What can you do then when you got access to the code? Well, you can use other tools. For example, developers use GitHub Copilot. Now, how does this compare to WebSim itself? With GitHub Copilot is a plugin that developers use locally in their development environment, a code editor. And that plugin is, it can do QA chat about the code base, about the code. It cannot do search like ChatGPT. It can help you with terminal commands, but itself it cannot actually run them, so it cannot really do debugging or access to the application you're developing. Size. Now, where it is better than WebSim or Claude is that it does small changes. It doesn't rewrite whole things. Problem though with it is that it's a tool for developers. You need to select the code you want to change. You can chat with it, then you need to select the code, tell you how do you want it to change. That will change only that part. It will be fast. There will be less issue than this whole big regeneration that WebSim or Claude does. So in that sense, it's not superb. And when it comes to costs, it's cheaper than ChatGPT, but it's also less valuable. You can still paste your code, if it's not too big, into ChatGPT and get somewhat similar performance as GitHub Copilot. but you will need to be copy pasting. But I'm not using this. It's not automation enough for me as a developer. Now, from other tools, one of which is recently quite popular is Aider. What Aider is a tool that you install locally. It's not super automatic. You still need to add files to its context, but then it can chat with you about the files. It cannot search, so it's still limited by information you give it. It cannot itself investigate the internet for possible solutions. I would say that for now, it's not really helping with you with terminal, with debugging, with running, with testing. No, it doesn't solve that issue. Now, when it comes to size, it's probably the best tool on the market I have tested on editing multi-file code bases and large ones, because it does multiple small patches, fixing only what you asked for, which is quick, less error prone. It doesn't change things you didn't ask for, and it's the best tool I tested on the market for doing that. With the only issue that you need to decide yourself which files from your project you are adding to the context. Cost. It uses API key. So you will need to go to Anthropic, create an account, attach your card, and it will be charging you per usage. Now, back in the day, that meant that you could easily run into something like $10 a day, which if you are a heavy user and using each day would run you into $300 a month, right? So cost was a problem. Today it's a bit less of a problem. Those models are getting cheaper, but still, cost is floating. There is no cap. You can end up spending a lot of money. I'm not currently using it because I still want debugging. I still want search. I want it to be more automated with this context adding files thing. And yeah, cost is, I wouldn't say it's bad. I'm a little bit conscious, price conscious in that. Now there are newer tools I didn't test yet, like claude-dev. I will try to get to them soon. But claude-dev still uses API keys, so you will be paying again per usage. So what am I using? I'm using ChatGPT Server Commander. This is a project on GitHub. I'm the author. What it is a tool, basically a server that you can install on your machine or on your server. And it gives access to the server or your machine to the ChatGPT, which allows you to use ChatGPT with your local files and local system. You will be able to search for files. You will be able to search in the files. You will be able to read the files, ask questions, brainstorm, investigate with ChatGPT. ChatGPT already has access to Bing search, so it can find and investigate things for you using internet search. It can run commands in terminal, meaning it can potentially debug and test and run and install and investigate using terminal, similar to how developers do it. Size. It can do multi-file edits that are patches, similar to Aider, but it's not as good as Aider. I will be honest with you. It's worse. It is using ChatGPT model. It's currently worse than Claude that Aider now uses. It's hit and miss a bit. Still, it works. I use it. I use it to develop itself. I use it to change things in WebSims that I download and so on and so on. Cost. Considering it's using and connecting to ChatGPT, you're only paying for ChatGPT subscription, which is cheaper than using API directly. And you can use it for free now. I mean, ChatGPT is now free with custom GPTs. So there is some limited quota with which you can use it just for free in ChatGPT. And this is what I wanted to show you today. How does this work in answering your questions, in internet search, in debugging and running code, how it works with large code bases. But this video is getting kind of too long. So I was thinking to just make records for you how it's used and how to set it up in the next video. But I don't want to leave you hanging, so I will show you a little bit of a sneak peek. Let's take a look. What can we do? So let's take a WebSim that we have and download it. So we downloaded WebSim. Now we're gonna go to downloads. We will take what we downloaded it. We're gonna go to my work folders where I already have locally installed Server Commander. I will put it into public folder. Actually, let's make a new folder. Let's call it demo2. Let's put the file here. Now we will open Server Commander in IDE and I will start it. Now it's running. Now I can go to ChatGPT where I have my private ChatGPT Server Commander. Why private? Because it's connected to my machine. I don't want to give you access to my machine. Here we have it. And I can do something like show me absolute path to current folder. So what I think I will show you today and where I will stop, I will just show you how it can read files, answer questions, look for files. So I asked it like, what is the current folder? And we are currently in like work folder and Server Commander. And if you remember, we put our file into a folder called demo2. Okay, find subfolder called demo2, switch there, read file list, there should be HTML there, rename it. I need to do demo2 HTML. So I asked it a bunch of things. Let's see what it's gonna do. So it's running first command. It run command find demo2. It switched to demo2 folder. It renamed, oh, and it also listed the files in one command. It renamed file into demo2. Let's take a look. Now, yes, it's demo2 file. Okay. Now we can do what? Did it read file? No, it's just renamed. Okay. Read the file. Tell me what it is. So here I'm showing you this capability to basically investigate your file system, run commands, and something went off. So this is one of the issues I still need to find a way to fix. I think I know what the problem is. What kind of hack you used? Now, one problem I have with ChatGPT currently is that if I return an error, it doesn't show what it sent. So I need to prompt this thing to tell me what went wrong. And what did went wrong is that it's using absolute path, even though the current folder is not there. So what does it? So it tried to use absolute path to access the file while it's actually already in the demo2 folder. Check what is current absolute path, see what will be wrong. So it gets confused a bit in terms of in which folder it currently is. I'm thinking that maybe I should stop using navigation to folders. It just makes it confused. So, okay, this time it succeeded. It read the file and it tells me what that is. The content of demo2 file is a structured HTML page for a web-based text adventure game titled WebSim Adventure. Here is an overview of its components. UI, it has some UI features, chat-like interface, bubbles, player can interact through text input, choose settings, and shuffle adventure options. Correct. It has text-to-speech. It has adventure generation. Let's have something more complex. Does it have save share functionality? Yes, the file includes save and share functionality. There is a method called save story, and which gathers the current adventure state and saves it using persist JSON API. There's share functionality. Okay, what is? Let's see that. The persist JSON API mentioned in demo2 file is likely a custom API designed for saving and loading JSON data, which is true. Purpose: persisting adventure state, variable story tokens, correct. The file imports an API via URL. This, which is true. Oh, we had an issue with ChatGPT. Let's try again. So maybe one thing to mention is that UX could be weird to some extent, in a sense that something like GitHub Copilot or works in IDE, which is nice. Either works in terminal, which maybe is slightly less good UX. This one is in browser and ChatGPT, which is also with its own pros and cons. So, okay, back to this. Okay, this time it didn't show the URL. Where does it come from? Where does it save? So I'm asking questions like, how does it save and share? It said that, Harry, there is some kind of persist JSON API. Okay, now it shares that it comes from here. That is my website, and that's API actually Server Commander wrote for me. The source comes from here. Can you use, oops, can you go to see if there is information there? So I'm asking it to go to the URL it found and take a look what is there. So Persist JSON API is a service for saving, loading, and sharing JSON data. It requires namespace to organize and isolate data across applications. Users can save JSON data, list saved files, load them by ID, and share them using public link. It also supports overwriting existing files. Service prompts users to log in or register for access control. For more details, you can visit the documentation. Okay. And here it found the documentation for the API used inside. So that's basically Q&A that you don't really have in WebSim. And to some extent, Claude cannot do this last step. It cannot go and fetch a page for you and read documentation. And this library is custom. ChatGPT doesn't know about it. Claude doesn't know about it. You need to go find it. You need to copy it. You need to paste it to the chat. I would say it's not a super hassle, but when you're working with a lot of things, it does help that it can go and fetch those things automatically, and you don't need to do it by hand. So anyways, this is how you can ask questions. You can also edit files. You can run code. I will show you this next time because this video is already getting too long. I also will show you how to install it on your machine and how to connect it to ChatGPT so you can do it with your machine or with your server, because I'm using it both on my machine and on my server, and I can later, using ChatGPT, connect to and manipulate the machine from a phone, which is pretty cool. But I will show it to you next time. Okay? So if you like this kind of things, do hit like. If you want to see this next video, do hit subscribe. And also, if you have any questions or suggestions, do leave comments and questions under this video. Thank you, and see you next time.